Jace Rennick had always been a man who lived by his own rules. The Terran Coalition called him an outlaw. But Jace preferred the word free. He had grown tired of the endless politics and hollow promises of the government. Every system had its corrupt officials, every fleet its hidden agendas. To Jace, it was simpler to rely on his own skills, his wits, and his ship, a patched-up freighter he had lovingly named the Wanderer. On the outer edges of known space, far beyond the trade routes and the watchful eyes of Coalition patrols, he drifted between stars that burned brighter than any city lights he had ever known. Life on the frontier was quiet, almost lonely. But Jace liked it that way. Here, the rules were written by survival, not by law. That morning, the twin suns of the system rose over a barren asteroid field, their light slicing through the metal wrecks of old mining stations like golden knives. Jace floated in the cockpit of the Wanderer, sipping lukewarm coffee from a chipped mug. His scanner beeped softly, indicating another routine transmission from the outer communications array. He ignored it at first. Most messages out here were automated distress signals or pirate warnings. But something in the signal caught his attention, a faint, irregular pulse, almost like a heartbeat. He leaned closer, adjusting the frequency. The voice that emerged was different, calm, deliberate, human. Help. Asteroid. Under threat. Need aid. The signal cut off abruptly. Jace frowned. He had learned long ago to trust his instincts, even when the situation seemed inconvenient. This was no ordinary distress call. Someone was in trouble, and far enough out that no one else would answer. "Guess you picked the right ship, stranger," he muttered, punching coordinates into the navigation console. The Wanderer shuddered as its engines roared to life. The journey to the source took 3 standard days. Jace had time to prepare, checking his supplies, reviewing his maps, and running through potential scenarios in his head. By the time he emerged from hyperspace, he was hovering above a broken asteroid habitat that looked as if it had been abandoned for decades. The structure floated in silence, scarred by meteor strikes and poorly patched repairs. Small fires flickered inside the habitat's hull, sending thin plumes of smoke into space. Jace scanned for life signs, and that heartbeat returned stronger now, more organized. He didn't hesitate. The Wanderer's landing clamps extended, gripping the uneven surface of the asteroid. Jace grabbed his toolkit and made his way through the docking corridor. Every step echoed in the quiet metallic halls. Then he heard voices. Not shouting, not panic, but voices speaking quickly in a language he didn't know. Still, there was urgency and precision in their tone. Jace followed the sound, keeping low, careful not to reveal himself until he understood what he was walking into. He rounded a corner and saw her, a young woman, no older than 25, with dark hair pulled back in tight braids. She moved with confidence, her hands deftly handling a holographic interface that hummed with faint blue light. Around her, other individuals, men, women, and even a few children moved efficiently, coordinating repairs and organizing supplies. It was a community under pressure, not a helpless group waiting for rescue. The woman noticed him immediately. Her dark eyes measured him, assessing whether he was a threat. Jace raised his hands slowly. "I'm not here to fight," he said. "I got your signal. Need some help?" She hesitated, then nodded once. "We need someone with your experience. We've managed so far, but the systems are failing. And there's a problem. Something is coming." Jace's curiosity piqued. "Something? What do you mean?" She glanced over her shoulder, then back at him. "It's hard to explain. You'll see soon enough. If you stay." Her name, he learned, was Tala Nantan. She was a leader here, not because she demanded it, but because people trusted her knowledge and courage. She explained that her people were part of a diaspora, descendants of Apache communities who had settled among the stars, preserving their culture while thriving in space. They had learned to combine old traditions with new technology, maintaining a balance between heritage and innovation. And now, They were under threat. A mysterious alien presence had begun targeting settlements like theirs, harvesting resources and technology in ways that defied understanding. The previous attacks had left other communities crippled. This one, Tala said, would be next if they didn't act. Jace felt a pull in his chest. He had spent years avoiding entanglements, but something about Tala's calm bravery and the way her people worked together struck him. These weren't helpless victims, they were survivors, thinkers, fighters. He could respect that. "All right," he said finally. "Tell me what you need me to do." For the next several hours, he worked alongside them, repairing critical systems and reinforcing the habitat's defenses. Tala watched him closely, sometimes offering guidance, sometimes stepping aside to let him solve problems in his own way. They communicated in clear, simple terms, even when their approaches differed. By the time the twin suns dipped below the horizon, the habitat was stable, and the community had a renewed sense of hope. Jace was exhausted, but there was a quiet satisfaction in his chest. He realized that this helping people who could not only survive but thrive was more fulfilling than he had expected. That night, under the glow of artificial lights and distant stars, Tala invited him to a small courtyard. The community had lit candles and small lanterns, their flickering light reflecting in the eyes of children playing nearby. "You didn't have to come," Tala said softly. "I didn't have to stay," Jace replied, watching the children. "But I'm here now. Seems like I got lucky." She smiled faintly. "Luck brought you here, but courage keeps you here. That matters more." It was a simple conversation, but it left an impression on him. Tala wasn't just a leader by title, she was a leader by presence, by integrity, by the trust she inspired. Jace realized that for the first time in years, he felt a sense of belonging not to a government, not to a fleet, but to a group of people who valued each other, who valued life itself. As the night deepened, Jace returned to the Wanderer. But sleep eluded him. Outside the ship's viewport, the asteroid field sparkled like frozen fire. Somewhere in the distance, a faint signal pulsed, irregular, almost like the heartbeat he had heard days before. He didn't know what it meant, but he knew one thing for certain. His life had changed. He was an outlaw, yes, but he had found something worth standing for. And for the first time, Jace Rennick realized that being free wasn't just about running from the law, it was about choosing to protect what mattered, even when it was risky, even when no one else would. The next day would bring new challenges. He didn't know what the mysterious threat Tala had mentioned truly was, or how deep it ran. But he did know that together, they had a chance to face it. And Jace, the man who had once drifted from system to system with no ties, found himself willing to fight, not for fame, not for reward, but because it was the right thing to do. And somewhere in the stars above, beyond the twin suns, the heartbeat of that first distress signal continued faint, but insistent, a reminder that some calls are too important to ignore, and that even an outlaw can find a place among those who need him most. The day after Jace Rennick arrived at the asteroid habitat, the settlement was already buzzing with activity. Tala Nantan moved among her people like a conductor with an orchestra, directing tasks, giving advice, and keeping an eye on the larger picture. Though young, her presence carried weight. Every decision she made was precise, thoughtful, and unafraid. Jace followed her quietly at first, carrying tools and repairing minor systems as he went. He had spent his life relying on his own instincts, and now, he found himself learning a new rhythm, one guided by Tala's careful planning. The community was strong, but it was clear the mysterious threat she had mentioned could not be ignored. "They are not ordinary raiders," Tala explained, as they worked together on a broken communications array. "They strike quickly, but they don't steal ships or supplies like pirates. They are hunting something we carry." Jace raised an eyebrow. "Something you carry? Like what cargo?" "No," she said, shaking her head. "Knowledge. Traditions. Ways of thinking. Ways of surviving that they cannot understand. That is why they target communities like ours." Her words carried a weight that made Jace pause. He had faced corrupt officials, bounty hunters, and rogue fleets. But never had he encountered enemies who sought understanding rather than destruction. By mid-afternoon, Tala led him to a central hall, where holographic maps displayed the layout of the asteroid settlement. Small dots of light represented other diaspora colonies scattered across the stars. Some were thriving, some had been abandoned. Each light was a story. A culture struggling to survive far from Earth, while keeping its identity alive. "We've always adapted," Tala said, pointing to her own colony. "Our people survived by combining old knowledge with new technology. Our ancestors taught us to listen, to respect the land, and to understand patterns. That skill has now extended into space, but they, whoever is coming, cannot accept that. They see us as anomalies." Jace studied the map. "And you think they will strike here?" She nodded. "It is only a matter of time." The tension in the room was palpable. But there was no panic. Tala's calm confidence kept the community steady. Jace realized something important. She was not just a leader. She was the heart of this place. People didn't follow her because they had to, they followed her because she inspired them. Later, Tala invited Jace to help with training the younger members of the settlement. It was not a military exercise. She did not believe in violence for its own sake, but rather a session in problem-solving, teamwork, and quick thinking. She moved through the group with quiet authority, offering encouragement and guidance. Jace watched her work, noticing the patience she showed. She corrected mistakes without judgment, praised clever solutions, and guided everyone to think independently. He had spent years learning survival the hard way, but Tala's methods reminded him that strength could come from knowledge, collaboration, and careful planning, not only brute force. After training, Tala and Jace repaired the settlement's external shield array. The structure had been damaged in a recent asteroid storm, and without it, the colony would be vulnerable to both debris and the unknown threat she had warned him about. "You're fast with your hands," Tala observed, watching him tighten a power conduit. "Most outsiders can't keep up," Jace chuckled. "I've had to improvise my whole life." "Makes you good at fixing things," Tala nodded. "Improvise, adapt, survive. Those are words we value. But sometimes, even the best skills are not enough. That is why we need allies who think differently. That is why you are here. Thank you for watching. Thank you for watching. Thank you for watching." They were see another 2000. Her words surprised him. He had expected gratitude, but not recognition. The fact that she saw him as more than a hired hand, more than a tool to solve her problems, left a strange warmth in his chest. That evening, Tala took Jace to the observation deck. The twin suns were setting over the asteroid field, casting long shadows across the settlement. Small lights blinked in the distance, other colonies, far away, each surviving in isolation. "This is our home," she said softly, her gaze fixed on the horizon. "But it is fragile. Every day we live is a gift, and every day we prepare for what may come. I do not know who will attack next or why, but we will not run. We will meet them with courage, with strategy, and with the strength of our community." Jace nodded, feeling the weight of her words. For the first time in years, he felt a responsibility not just to himself, but to others. He had always lived for freedom, but now he understood that freedom could mean protecting those who could not protect themselves. Days passed. Jace grew closer to Tala, though their bond was built on respect and shared effort rather than words. He saw her not only as a leader but as a person, curious, clever, and fearless in ways he admired. She, in turn, observed him closely, noting his quick thinking, his ability to remain calm under pressure, and the quiet courage that had brought him to her doorstep. Then, one morning, the scanners detected a strange energy signature nearby. It was faint, irregular, and unlike anything the community had encountered before. Tala studied the readings with a frown. "They are close," she said. "Closer than we thought. We must be ready." Jace tightened the straps on his toolkit belt. "Closer? How close?" She pointed to the monitor. "Within 10 light minutes of the asteroid. They are observing us." The tension was immediate. Jace had faced dangerous enemies before, But there was something unsettling about a threat that studied you rather than attacking outright. It suggested intelligence, strategy, and patience, all things he had learned to respect in opponents. Over the next few hours, Tala and Jace worked tirelessly with the community, reinforcing critical systems, preparing emergency protocols, and securing supplies. The settlement moved with precision, each person knowing their role, each action measured to maximize safety. By late afternoon, the energy readings intensified. A shadow passed over the asteroid field, and the community watched as a large vessel hovered just beyond the sensor range. It was unlike any ship Jace had ever seen, sleek, angular, and almost alive in its movement. "They are testing us," Tala said, "watching how we react, learning our patterns." Jace felt a thrill of adrenaline. This was the unknown, the challenge he had always sought, but with stakes higher than anything he had ever faced. He glanced at Tala, and for a moment, they shared a silent understanding. They were no longer just protecting themselves. They were defending the future of their people. The hours passed slowly. The alien ship remained at the edge of detection, silent, observing. Tala organized teams to monitor every sensor, every approach vector. Jace assisted, using his experience to anticipate potential weaknesses in the settlement's defenses. Night fell over the twin suns, and the observation deck was bathed in artificial light. Tala and Jace stood side by side, watching the stars. "You've done more than help," Tala said quietly. "You've earned their trust. Not because of strength, but because of wisdom and courage. That is what matters here." Jace smiled faintly, feeling a sense of belonging he had never known. He had come to this asteroid as an outsider, an outlaw. Now, he was part of something greater, a community that valued life, knowledge, and courage. Suddenly, the energy signature pulsed again, brighter and closer than before. Jace felt a familiar thrill, the kind that came with facing the unknown. He knew the next steps would be critical, that every decision could mean survival or disaster. Tala placed a hand on his shoulder. "Whatever comes next," she said, "we face it together. Not as stranger and savior, but as partners. That is how we survive." Jace nodded, the weight of her words settling in. In the quiet glow of the twin suns, he realized that he had found something more valuable than freedom purpose. And with Tala by his side, he felt ready to face whatever the stars had in store. The alien ship remained distant, mysterious. But for the first time, Jace did not feel fear. He felt anticipation, determination, and a quiet hope. The story of this settlement and of his own life was only beginning. And he was ready to write it with courage, wisdom, and honor. The alien vessel lingered just beyond the asteroid settlement, silent and almost serene in its movements. For days, it had observed the community, a shadow at the edge of the stars. Tala Nantan watched it with careful attention, analyzing patterns, energy readings, and every flicker of motion. Jace Rennick, standing beside her, felt a mixture of tension and curiosity. This was no ordinary enemy. They were intelligent, patient, and calculating. "They are testing us," Tala said. Her voice was calm, but there was steel beneath it. "They are learning everything about how we survive." Jace frowned. "Learning what? How to attack, or how to avoid attacking?" Tala shook her head. "I don't know. But we cannot wait. We must be ready for anything." The community had mobilized quickly. Tala had organized teams for every possible scenario: repairs, surveillance, defense, and evacuation. Children and elders had been moved to the inner sections of the asteroid, where shields were strongest. Adults worked in shifts, monitoring sensors, reinforcing barriers, and preparing contingency plans. Jace assisted where he could, using his experience as an outlaw and space pilot. He devised quick fixes for failing systems, rerouted power where needed, and even improvised defensive measures from spare materials. Tala watched him work, impressed by his resourcefulness and calm under pressure. "You think too fast," she said, handing him a small scanner to monitor a weak shield node. Jace smiled faintly. "Years of practice," You learn to survive by expecting the unexpected. She nodded, a quiet respect in her eyes. Good. You will need that. By the second day, the alien ship had moved slightly closer. Its presence was unmistakable. A dark silhouette against the distant stars. Every sensor reading flickered with strange energy pulses, as if the ship itself was alive and sensing them in return. The community held its collective breath, waiting for the first move. Jace and Tala spent hours reviewing the data. It became clear that the vessel was observing specific aspects of their settlement, the shields, the communication systems, even the behavior of the people. It was calculating, analyzing, and learning. They are not here to negotiate, Jace said quietly. They want to see how we respond. They are measuring our strength. Tala nodded. Yes, but strength alone will not save us. We must be clever, adaptive, and united. That is our advantage. That evening, Tala called a council of the settlement's leaders. Jace was invited to participate, not as an outsider, but as a trusted ally. The group gathered around the holographic map of the settlement, discussing strategies, potential weaknesses, and contingencies. You have done well, Tala said, addressing Jace. Your presence has strengthened us, not with brute force, but with insight. We are stronger because of you. Jace felt a strange warmth. He had come as a stranger, an outsider, yet here he was, being recognized as a part of the community. Not a guest, not a savior, a partner. The next morning, the alien ship made its first move. A wave of energy rippled through the asteroid field, harmless but unnerving. It was a test, a probe of their defenses. Sensors detected the energy spike, shields absorbed it, and the community remained safe. They are watching for fear, Tala said. If we show panic, they will act. If we show calm, they hesitate. Jace adjusted the ship's external systems, reinforcing the shields and rerouting energy to critical points. They are clever, he said, but they are not perfect. They cannot anticipate everything humans can do. Tala smiled faintly. That is why you are here. Not because you are stronger, but because you think differently. That is what makes humans remarkable. Days passed in a tense rhythm. The alien ship remained at the edge of detection, probing and observing. Tala and Jace worked side by side, monitoring systems, preparing the community, and studying the strange vessel. Slowly, they began to understand its behavior. It reacted to patterns, predicting their moves. But it struggled when faced with unpredictability. One evening, Tala called Jace to the observation deck. The twin suns were setting, casting long shadows across the asteroid. The alien ship hovered silently, its dark surface reflecting the fading light. You have done more than I expected, Tala said softly. You came as a stranger. You risked everything to help us. And now, you are part of something greater. Our people trust you. Jace shook his head. I didn't come here to be trusted. I came here to help. That's all I've ever done. Tala turned to him, her expression serious. Helping is not the same as trust. Trust is earned through actions, through courage, through integrity. And you have earned it. Not just mine, but theirs as well. Jace felt a lump in his throat. He had spent years running from responsibility, from attachment, from being part of anything larger than himself. Now, he realized that he had found a place where he belonged. You are chosen, Tala continued, her voice quiet but firm. Not because of who you are, but because of what you stand for. You have shown courage, intelligence, and respect. That is why I ask you, will you stand with us? Not as a visitor, not as a savior, but as a partner? Jace was taken aback. This was unexpected. He had faced countless dangers, but never had someone chosen him in this way. Not for duty, not for survival, but for partnership, for shared purpose. He looked at Tala. then at the lights of the settlement below, at the people trusting them both to guide and protect them. He thought of the days spent repairing, planning, and preparing. And he realized that for the first time in his life, he wanted to belong somewhere, to contribute to something meaningful. I will, he said finally, his voice steady. I will stand with you. A faint smile crossed Tala's face. Good. Then we are ready. Over the next several days, the partnership between Tala and Jace became evident to the entire community. They worked together seamlessly, anticipating each other's actions, sharing ideas, and supporting every decision. Their cooperation strengthened the settlement, inspired the people, and created a sense of unity that had been lacking before. Then, the alien ship acted again. This time, a series of energy pulses swept across the asteroid, targeting the shields and sensor arrays. It was more aggressive than before, but still cautious. The settlement's systems held, and the community responded with calm efficiency. Jace and Tala directed the defense with precision, rerouting power, reinforcing weak points, and coordinating teams to monitor every sensor. The alien ship seemed to hesitate, analyzing their response, unable to anticipate the clever improvisations they implemented. For hours, the standoff continued. Neither side struck decisively. It was a test of patience, intelligence, and resilience. And for the first time, Jace felt the thrill of true partnership not as a lone outlaw, but as part of a team fighting for survival and justice. As night fell, the alien ship withdrew slightly, retreating to the edge of detection. Tala and Jace monitored its movements, noting patterns and anomalies. They will return, Tala said. And when they do, we must be ready. But today, we showed them that we are not helpless, that we are not predictable. Jace nodded. And we will be ready next time. Together. The settlement returned to its rhythm, repairing systems, restoring order, and preparing for the next encounter. But for Jace, something had changed. He had arrived as a stranger, an outsider, and a man who believed he belonged nowhere. Now, he had a purpose, a partnership, and a place where he mattered. He watched Tala as she moved among her people, guiding, encouraging, protecting. He felt a deep respect for her, not just as a leader, but as someone who had the courage to trust, to choose, and to stand firm in the face of the unknown. That night, Jace stood on the observation deck alone for a moment. The twin suns had set, and distant stars glimmered like jewels in the black sky. The alien ship remained visible, a dark silhouette against the stars, watching, waiting, calculating. Jace clenched his fists and felt a sense of determination he had never known before. He had faced danger before, but never with a cause worth fighting for. Now, he understood that courage was not just about surviving, it was about standing up for what mattered, protecting those who could not protect themselves, and doing so with honor. And as he looked at the stars, he knew this was only the beginning. The alien threat would return, and the challenges ahead would be greater than anything he had faced. But he also knew he would not face them alone. He had Tala at his side, the community behind him, and a sense of purpose guiding every step. For the first time in his life, Jace Rennick was not just an outlaw. He was part of something greater. He was chosen, not claimed. And he was ready to fight for the people who had chosen him in return. The alien ship had returned. This time, it moved with purpose, no longer just observing from a distance. Energy pulses shimmered along its hull, and sensors picked up waves of advanced technology scanning the asteroid settlement. Tala Nantan stood at the observation deck, scanning the readings, while Jace Rennick moved swiftly among the control panels, adjusting shields and rerouting power to critical points. Their coordination had become seamless. Every movement, every decision was informed by experience, trust, and shared understanding. They're testing the outer shield array again, Tala said, her eyes focused. We need to anticipate the pattern and reinforce it before they strike. Jace nodded. I've rerouted power to the nodes, but we need a diversion to slow them down. I have an idea. Tala raised an eyebrow. Go on. Using spare drones and holographic projections, Jace created a false energy signature. The alien ship detected the phantom signals and diverted part of its attack toward them. Meanwhile, Tala coordinated teams to strengthen real defenses and move vital community members to safe zones within the asteroid. The alien ship paused, analyzing the new information. It hesitated, confused by the deception. Jace's heart raced. This was the first time he saw their enemy falter. "They are learning," Tala said quietly. "But they cannot predict human ingenuity." The energy pulses intensified, striking the shields with a rhythmic force. Jace and Tala worked together, adjusting systems in real time. Each wave of energy tested the settlement's limits, but the defenses held. The community, trained and disciplined under Tala's leadership, responded without panic, following every instruction with precision. Hours passed. The standoff continued, a silent battle of wits and endurance. The alien ship's presence was oppressive, but the settlement's people moved calmly, repairing damages, monitoring sensors, and preparing for what could come next. Then Tala issued the first offensive move. "We can't just defend, we need to take action." "Always," he said, gripping the control panel. Using modified drones equipped with energy disruptors, they launched a coordinated strike against the alien ship's scanning systems. Tala had calculated the angles and timing perfectly. The drones weaved through the asteroid field, emitting interference that blinded the ship's sensors temporarily. The alien ship reacted unpredictably. It adjusted its energy pulses erratically, giving the settlement a chance to regroup and reinforce. Jace's quick thinking and Tala's strategic planning turned the tide. "Good work," Tala said. "But this is only the beginning. They will try again." As night fell, the alien ship retreated slightly, moving to a safe distance while continuing to monitor them. The settlement's people gathered in small groups, sharing quiet conversations and brief smiles. They were safe for now, but everyone knew the danger was not gone. Jace and Tala stood on the observation deck, looking at the stars. The alien vessel hovered in the distance, dark and menacing. "They won't give up," Jace said. "They are patient and intelligent. But so are we. We've shown them that we can adapt, that we can fight smart, not just hard." Tala nodded. "Exactly. Courage alone is not enough. Strategy, cooperation, and understanding, these are our weapons, and we have them in abundance." Over the next days, Jace and Tala worked tirelessly, developing contingency plans, testing the settlement systems, and training teams for various scenarios. They also analyzed the alien technology, trying to understand its patterns and weaknesses. "They seem to rely on observation," Tala noted. "They predict our actions based on patterns. If we change the pattern, we create an advantage." Jace smiled faintly. "So unpredictability is our friend. That works for me." Using this insight, they devised a plan for a coordinated strike. The idea was not to destroy the alien ship too advanced for that, but to force it to retreat by confusing and overwhelming its predictive systems. Every member of the community had a role, each task carefully timed and executed. The day of the plan arrived. The alien ship returned, its presence more aggressive than ever. Energy pulses struck the asteroid, shaking the settlement. Tala and Jace implemented their strategy, moving drones in unpredictable paths, projecting false energy signals, and coordinating teams to repair and reinforce defenses simultaneously. The alien ship reacted, its energy pulses becoming erratic, no longer precise. Its attempts to predict the settlement's response failed, and the community exploited the confusion, strengthening shields and creating new barriers in real time. "This is it," Tala said, her voice calm but firm. "We hold, and we force them to retreat." Jace nodded. "Then let's make it happen." For hours, the alien ship and the settlement engaged in a silent battle of intelligence and strategy. The ship tried to adapt, but every move was countered with ingenuity and teamwork. Jace and Tala directed operations, anticipating threats, and adjusting tactics on the fly. Finally, the alien ship withdrew, retreating to the edge of the system. Its energy pulses faded, leaving the asteroid settlement intact. The community erupted in quiet celebration, not with loud cheers, but with smiles, hugs, and sighs of relief. They had survived. They had shown courage, intelligence, and resilience. Tala and Jace stood together on the observation deck, watching the alien ship disappear into the distance. "They will return," Tala said. "But today, we proved we can face them. Not as individuals, but as a community. Not with fear, but with courage and strategy." Jace placed a hand on her shoulder. "And we will be ready next time, together." The settlement settled back into its rhythm. Repairs were made, systems checked, and routines restored. But the experience had changed everyone. The community now understood their strength not only in technology, but in their ability to work together, to think, and to adapt. For Jace, the experience was transformative. He had come as a stranger, an outsider, an outlaw. Now he was part of something greater. A partner, a defender, a symbol of resilience and ingenuity. Tala and Jace spent the following days reviewing data from the encounter, analyzing every move of the alien ship. They discovered patterns, weaknesses, and opportunities for future strategies. Every insight strengthened the settlement and prepared them for what might come next. One evening, Tala invited Jace to the observation deck once again. The twin suns were setting, casting a golden glow across the asteroid. "You have done more than help us survive," Tala said softly. "You have earned the trust and respect of our people. You are not just an ally. You are part of us now." Jace felt a lump in his throat. "I didn't come here to belong. I came here to help. But I guess I found a place I want to stay." Tala smiled. "Then stay. Not as a stranger, not as a savior, but as a partner. We face challenges together, and we share victories together." Jace looked at the lights of the settlement, at the people who had trusted him, at Tala who had chosen to stand with him, and finally understood. This was more than survival. This was unity, courage, and purpose. "We will face them," he said quietly. "No matter what comes next, we face it together." Tala nodded, her eyes reflecting determination and trust. "Yes, together." The alien ship was gone for now, but its presence lingered in the minds of the settlement. They had survived an impossible challenge, learned to rely on their ingenuity, and discovered the strength in unity and partnership. And at the center of it all stood Jace Rennick and Tala Nantan, partners, leaders, and symbols of resilience. The story of their victory began to spread among nearby colonies. Tales of a settlement that had stood firm against an intelligent, powerful alien force inspired hope. The name of Jace Rennick, once an outlaw, and Tala Nantan, a leader of her people, became known as champions of courage and wisdom. And while the stars still held unknown dangers, the community knew one thing for certain. No matter what threats emerged, they would face them as one, guided by courage, intelligence, and the unbreakable bond between their chosen leaders. For Jace, the realization was profound. He had spent years drifting, searching for purpose. Now he had found it not in freedom alone, but in responsibility, partnership, and shared courage. And with Tala by his side, he felt ready for any challenge the universe could send their way. The night fell over the asteroid settlement, peaceful for the first time in many weeks. The twin suns had set, and distant stars glittered in the dark sky. The alien ship was gone. But the story of that day, and the courage of those who faced it, would live on. Jace looked at Tala and nodded. Together, they had faced the impossible. Together, they had triumphed. And together, they would continue to protect their people, their home, and the future of humanity among the stars. The war no one wanted had begun, but the champions no one expected had risen. And their story was only beginning. The alien ship had vanished from the sensor grids, leaving the asteroid settlement quiet, yet charged with a new energy. Tala Nantan walked among her people, checking on systems, repairing minor damages, and offering encouragement. Her presence radiated calm authority, the kind that reminded everyone of their resilience. Jace Rennick moved beside her, assisting with technical checks, but his eyes often wandered to the stars, imagining what could still lie beyond. The days after the confrontation were tense but productive. The settlement's defenses were upgraded, drones patrolled the asteroid field, and surveillance systems monitored the surrounding space. Jace and Tala worked tirelessly, but they also made time to teach and train others. They wanted the community to be self-reliant, to be capable of defending itself, and to think creatively under pressure. "You know," Jace said one afternoon, fixing a minor flaw in a shield generator, "I never imagined myself settling down anywhere. I thought I'd always be drifting from one system to another." Tala glanced at him, her expression unreadable at first. Then she smiled faintly. "And yet here you are, standing with us, choosing to be part of something bigger than yourself. That says a lot about you." He shrugged, trying to hide the warmth that crept into his chest. "I guess I finally found something worth staying for." She nodded, turning her attention back to the monitors. "Good. Because the universe doesn't stop. There will be others who test us. Others who see what we have and want it. But together, we are stronger than any one challenge." Over the next week, the community began sharing stories of the alien encounter. Children gathered around holographic projections of drones and shields, asking questions, imagining themselves as defenders. Adults recounted the coordinated efforts, emphasizing teamwork, clever strategies, and bravery. Jace noticed something remarkable. Even the youngest members of the settlement were learning to think critically, to solve problems, and to respect their own abilities. "This is why we survived," Tala said one evening as they watched the twin suns set. "Not because of one person, but because of all of us working together, and because we refuse to be predictable." Jace nodded. "I learned that too. Out here, alone, I survived by being fast and smart. But with a team, we can survive anything." The settlement had regained its rhythm when a new signal arrived, a distress call from a nearby diaspora colony. Their settlement had been attacked by the same alien force, but they had little knowledge of defense or strategy. Tala immediately began planning a mission to help them, and Jace volunteered without hesitation. "We don't just defend ourselves," Tala said. "We protect others. That is what defines us." The journey to the neighboring colony was tense but steady. Jace piloted the Wanderer with skill, navigating asteroid fields and unpredictable energy currents. Tala coordinated strategy, sending updates to the colony ahead of their arrival, preparing them for a coordinated defense. When they reached the settlement, it was clear the community had suffered. Supplies were damaged, shelters were weak, and morale was low. But Tala and Jace quickly assessed the situation, assigning tasks to restore defenses, organize residents, and plan for possible alien return. "People here need hope," Jace said. "We have to show them it's possible to survive, to fight back." Tala nodded. "And that is why we are here. Not just to repair systems, but to teach resilience." Over the next several days, the new settlement regained strength. Drones were deployed, shields repaired, and the residents trained in the tactics that had saved Tala's asteroid. Jace led workshops on improvisation and problem-solving, while Tala focused on leadership, decision-making, and community organization. When the alien ship returned, it found a settlement prepared and united. Energy pulses struck shields, but the defenses held, stronger than before. The residents responded with calm efficiency, following Tala and Jace's instructions without hesitation. Drones moved unpredictably, false signals diverted attacks, and the alien ship's attempts to anticipate their actions failed. "It works," Jace said quietly. "They can't predict us anymore." Tala nodded. "Cleverness, courage, and unity. That is what defeats them." The alien ship withdrew again, and this time, it did not return. The settlements in the region were safe for now, and the story of Jace and Tala's leadership began to spread. First among the diaspora colonies, then through trade networks and communication channels. Word reached the Terran coalition, who had once branded Jace an outlaw. Now, they heard of a man who had protected entire communities, organized defenses, and inspired hope across the stars. Reports spoke of a young Apache leader, wise beyond her years, who had stood shoulder to shoulder with a human outsider to preserve culture, life, and freedom. Back on the asteroid settlement, Jace and Tala stood together on the observation deck, looking at the twin suns setting. The lights of the settlement glimmered like small stars in the dark. "You know," Jace said, "I never thought I'd be called a hero. Not in a million years." Tala glanced at him, a faint smile on her lips. "You're not a hero because of fame. You're a hero because you stood with people who needed you. Not because you had to, but because you chose to. That is what makes you remarkable." He looked at her, seeing the strength and wisdom in her eyes. "And you? You're the real inspiration here. You've taught me more than any fleet or academy ever could." Tala shook her head. "We taught each other. That is what partnership means. We protect, guide, and learn from one another. That is why we succeeded." The settlement gathered that night for a small celebration, not a grand festival, but a quiet gathering to honor resilience, courage, and survival. Children shared stories, adults expressed gratitude, and the elders nodded approvingly at the unity displayed. Jace watched, feeling a sense of belonging he had never known in years of drifting from system to system. "You've become part of this," Tala said, standing beside him. "Not just as someone who fights, but as someone who cares, who thinks, and who chooses to act." He nodded. "I came here as a stranger. Now, I am part of something I would fight for. I understand now. Freedom isn't just about running. It's about choosing where to stand. And with whom." Weeks passed, and the settlement prospered. Systems were upgraded, communication links established with other colonies, and a culture of resilience and cooperation flourished. Jace and Tala continued to work side by side, planning for the future. Always ready to respond to threats, but also nurturing the community's growth. Then, a transmission arrived from a distant system. Other colonies had heard of their successes and requested guidance, advice, and support. Jace and Tala realized their efforts had sparked a movement, a network of communities bound by courage, intelligence, and mutual aid. "We've done more than defend one settlement," Tala said. "We've started a chain of hope. Others will learn, adapt, and survive, because we showed them it's possible." Jace smiled, feeling a profound sense of satisfaction. "From outlaw to icon, I guess. Who would have thought?" Tala laughed softly. "Not an icon in the sense of fame, but as someone who inspires courage, cooperation, and resilience. That is worth more than recognition." Jace looked out at the twin suns, then at Tala, and finally at the lights of the settlement. He realized the truth of her words. His journey had begun as a lone man, drifting through the stars. Now, he was part of a legacy, a story of partnership, community, and humanity's indomitable spirit. And though the universe still held unknown threats, he no longer feared them. He knew that with Tala, with the community, and with ingenuity, courage, and unity, they could face whatever came next. That night, as the stars twinkled like distant promises, Jace Rennick finally understood the meaning of choice, courage, and belonging. He was no longer an outlaw adrift in the void. He was a protector, a partner, and a symbol of what humanity could achieve when it embraced ingenuity, compassion, and resilience. Tala placed a hand on his shoulder. "We've faced the impossible, Jace. And yet, here we are. Not because we were perfect, but because we refused to give up. Because we worked together. Because we believed in each other." He nodded, feeling the weight and truth of her words. "Together," he said. The twin suns dipped below the horizon, leaving the settlement bathed in a gentle glow. The asteroid floated quietly in space, alive with the hum of life, ingenuity, and hope. The alien threat had not vanished from the galaxy, but the people of this settlement were ready. They were prepared. They were united. and they were guided by the courage of a man who once ran from the law, and a woman who led with wisdom, strength, and vision. The story of Jace Rennick and Tala Nantan became legend, whispered among diaspora colonies, taught to children as a tale of courage, partnership, and humanity's potential. From outlaw to icon, from stranger to partner, Jace had found a home among the stars, and together they had ensured that humanity, in all its ingenuity and courage, would shine brightly in the galaxy for generations to come. The war no one wanted had been faced. The champions no one expected had risen, and their story, like the stars above, would endure forever.